What's up, you guys? Sorry about the lighting. It's kind of dark. I wanted to give a message to the people that clicked on this video. If you clicked on this video, then there's a reason why. And you need to hear this really important message that I'm about to give you. And that is that everything that has happened until now was supposed to happen to you. And the things that you thought were like the worst things ever, and at the time were the worst things ever, they're like the things that caused you to hit rock bottom in some form, saved your life. And it really is hard to see it in the moment because your whole life hasn't played out yet. You haven't bounced back from it and gotten to the other side. The things that seem like, oh my God, why is this happening to me? This is the worst thing ever. I was just talking to Andrew about I have relatives in Iran that they stayed in Iran when the revolution was happening, the wealthier Jews, or the Jews that were able to escape, and not just the Jews, the Christians, the minorities, a lot of people that when the revolution was happening in Iran, everybody was trying to escape because nobody knew what was going to happen under the new government. It was a theocratic Islamic government. It was even too extreme for most of the Muslims that were living there. A lot of the Muslims were trying to escape. It was Sharia law more than they had experienced before. So all the people that were able to afford to escape, they escaped. The people that couldn't, they were stuck. And they were thinking to themselves, probably, why me? Why do I have to stay stuck here? What if something happens to me and my family? What's going to happen to us? And the people that stayed, many years later, the people that weren't put in jail or nothing happened to them, but they just happened to stay because they were poor, or they just weren't able to escape. They didn't have the resources. They weren't able to get a refugee visa to go somewhere else. Many years later, we're seeing that they actually were able to build a really good life for themselves. And not only that, they're living the kind of lifestyle that the people that escaped are now wishing that they stayed and they live. And it almost became a running joke in my family that in Iran now, my relatives that stayed, because at the time they had to stay, their lives are so good now that they're always saying oh my God, if you want to escape from America, from your shitty life, you should come here. It's it's almost a joke. They don't say it in a condescending way, but it's almost we all know that my relatives that stayed in Iran since the revolution, they have a much better life than the people that escaped, because the people that escaped, they're living in other places in the world. They're living in industrialized countries, in Western countries. They're living in the United States or whatever. And they're living in shoeboxes, or they're living on welfare, or they're living, maybe they built themselves up. A lot of the relatives, they built themselves up and became extremely wealthy. But still, even with the most extreme wealth, as a lot of you guys that live in the States know, even with the most extreme wealth that you could think of, you're still not going to be able to live the kind of lifestyle that you would have if you were living relatively wealthy in Iran right now. If you were living even half the amount of wealth, you wouldn't be able to compare the lifestyle that you would be living in Iran. In Iran, you would be having, you'd be having anything you want. It's like that in most countries, most third world countries. You can, with just a tiny fraction of your wealth that you would have in the United States, you would have access to things that even a billionaire in the United States doesn't have. Even a billionaire like Elon Musk is not able to live a fraction of the lifestyle of some of these people. And the only reason you don't know that is because you're too scared to go and spend time in a third world country, because you were brainwashed that these places are scary. So why do some people get to have a better life than you? Why do some people get to have the things, and why do you have the things that you have? And why are you going to have some of the things that you just can't imagine? That you couldn't have imagined that you're going to have certain blessings because of things that you couldn't do in the past. there's so many things, so many times in my life where I've had to move, either for a job or from losing a job, from not having money, financial difficulty. Me and Andrew, we started traveling. We didn't have any money. We started traveling to look for a place to live on a very tiny fraction of what we needed to survive in the United States. And in the United States, you know, people think like, oh, well, big deal, you know, apartment, you know, what do you need? You just need a place to live, you just need food, you just need whatever. So just do that in the United States. But in the United States, we were dealing with like not only the cost of living and food and the occasional doctor, we were living with like recurring costs, a lot of recurring costs, and costs to our mental health, and like all kinds of like in the background costs of just existing there. You know, you need car insurance, you need health insurance, you need home insurance, you need homeowners insurance, you need all kinds of insurances, you need all kinds of, you know, there's liability costs, fear of getting sued from this or that, just fears all the time. Safety is an issue. In any major city in the United States, safety is an issue. In a way that we have never seen anywhere else. We lived in the part of Bogota. We when we first moved to Bogota, we lived in the part of Bogota because we were trying to save money and we wanted to live in like the cheapest place that we could with like the amenities we wanted. So we lived in the cheapest in the most dangerous part of Bogota, which if you've ever been to Bogota, you know Santa Fe, Bogota. That's the most dangerous. That they call that the kidnapping capital of Bogota, Colombia. So we moved to the kidnapping capital of Colombia, maybe that could be the kidnapping capital of Colombia. I don't know if the statistics say that it is, but we moved to like a really famously dangerous place, and we still felt much safer. I mean, there were issues there. We were constantly like people were constantly trying to pickpocket us, which was funny because we didn't carry anything with us. But like we still felt safer than we did in major cities in the United States. Just to put in perspective how unsafe it is in major cities in the United States. Major cities, to walk outside in a major part of Dallas or LA or New York City or Washington, D.C., like the stuff that I dealt with, or St. Paul. I didn't spend a lot of time in St. Paul. But safety is a real issue in the United States, to the point where like I think people are so brainwashed to think that third world countries are so much worse that they don't realize that they already have it much worse. And sometimes when you don't hit rock bottom, you're not able to come to these realizations. And I'm not even just only talking about this realization. When you don't hit rock bottom in life, you don't realize that you need to get out of that relationship. You just don't do it. You don't get out of that relationship that is hurting you long term. You don't get out of that job that's hurting you long term. You don't get out of that place that's hurting you long term. When you don't hit rock bottom, you don't quit drinking. You know what? If my health and Andrew's health didn't go to shit, I wouldn't have quit drinking, and I wouldn't have stopped doing gummies. If I didn't get to the point where I realized like it's kind of now or never, like to meet my future children, like I want to get pregnant, I want to have a baby. It's kind of now or never. And so if I want to get pregnant and meet my future children, I have to stop eating THC edibles. I just can't keep doing drugs while I'm pregnant. If I want my children to look like a 3-headed monster, if I don't want my children to look like a 3-headed monster, like there's so many things that becoming pregnant or becoming sick or mentally reaching an emotional breakdown or a mental breakdown, there's so many amazing changes that brought into my life that if I didn't have those rock bottom moments, I would never have these blessings. Blessings in life come with the rock bottom moments. And if you are watching this video, there's a very big chance that you have either been struggling or are about to struggle with a rock bottom moment. You're coming to terms, and you know what? I'm not trying to be woo-woo here. I know a lot of people are going through this, which is why I made this video. A lot of people are going through a rock bottom moment in their life right now, because this is a very transformative time. It's a transformative time of the year. We're approaching December, approaching towards the end of the year. So it's a very changing, crazy time of the year in general. Like, things are changing. The new year is about to start. New year, new jobs, new things coming for a lot of people. But also, in general, it's a time in the world that things are changing a lot. Donald Trump just won the election. A lot of people didn't expect that. A lot of people are surprised. Things are changing around the world. There's all kinds of like war movement. Here in Bali, we just had a volcano. It was like so crazy that if you look up at the sky, the moon was orange last night because of the fume of the volcano that caused the moon to look orange in the sky. And the airport wasn't, like, a lot of planes weren't able to leave the airport because they had to wait for the fire to calm down or something. A lot of immigration changes are being made all over the world. Countries are stopping immigration for certain people. They're limiting things. They're clamping down. A lot of countries are clamping down. And some countries are opening up. Like in the UK, they recently just opened up for Colombians to go and travel to the UK. A lot of third world countries, or third world, I say in quotes because they're like traditionally known to be third world, but they're not really third world. Like when you go and you look at their lifestyle, they're actually living a very comfortable lifestyle, and they have everything available to them. They have all the electronics they need, Wi-Fi, like whatever they need, they have. So a lot of so-called third world countries are now having opportunities opening up to them. They're moving up economically. And meanwhile, a lot of so-called first world countries are moving down economically. They're becoming restricted. People are becoming restricted. The working classes are being squeezed. Everywhere in the world, the working class has issue. Like, I'm generally not a fan of sticking around in the working class and where you are. And you might say, oh, but Pardes, like, if everybody leaves the working class, then who will stay to be the working class for us? You have to convince some people. It's not my job to convince you to be poor. Like, there needs to be poor people in the world, but it's not my job to keep you guys poor so that there should be poor people in the world. There's enough people that are going to watch my videos and say, oh, I don't believe that I can have that, and they will stay poor. There's enough people that will already do that. It's not my job to try to make people poor. Does that make sense? So if you're watching this and thinking, oh, Pardes, you shouldn't try to convince people we need the working class, we need the laborers. Yes, we need the laborers. We need the people that are cynical and downtrodden. We need the people that are like have the life sucked out of them. We need those people. We need the people that have the life sucked out of them so much that they're going to do the worst thing that you can't even imagine doing. They're going to do it. We need those people. But you know what? It's not my job to create those people. It's not my job to beat people down so that they have to be that. There's going to be that anyway. There's enough darkness in the world that is going to create those people. And I was those people. I did the jobs that other people wouldn't do. A lot of people at some point in their life have done their job. It's part of moving up in the world. It's my job to make you guys have the best life that you can ever imagine, because that's what I've been doing for myself, and that's what I want for myself. And you know what? The thing that you would bend over backwards to do, the life that you would bend over backwards to live, the person next to you might not be willing to bend over backwards to live that kind of lifestyle. So it's always going to be relative based on your personal life experiences. Starting a cleaning company in the United States, for example, it's funny. Someone was asking me someone was saying that they're moving to the United States and they're come from like a relatively wealthy class family in another country, and they're moving to the United States, and they're like, I want to make a lot of money in the United States. What should I do? And I said, you should start a cleaning business, because when I was in Dallas, I was cleaning my Airbnbs, and I was having a really difficult time finding other people to help me clean, because I had to travel between the Airbnbs, travel like an hour apart, and I wasn't always available because I was working as a waitress in a restaurant, and I needed people to clean my Airbnbs when I wasn't available to clean them. And like, not only were the people that I hired like not really always available, like sometimes unreliable, but also like they were very expensive. They were extremely expensive for like very little commitment. And I realized, and then I also, at some point, I started, like, just to test it, I started a Google Maps Airbnb cleaning service in Dallas, just on Google Maps, just to test it. And I got so much traction, so many people looking for it, and I realized, holy shit, like, this is a market that, and then I was talking to other people in other states, in Florida, my friend in Pennsylvania, they're having an Airbnb thing, and they decided to start their cleaning service there. And I realized, wow. And then also, I know someone in LA who started his own cleaning service for his Airbnbs. So like, wow, I realized, okay, in America, because there isn't enough blue collar workers, not enough people are willing to do cleaning, a cleaning service is great because it would make a lot of money. You can charge a lot of money to clean people's houses. You can hire a team of people. Like, you'll make so much more money than if you did literally any other office job. I mean, I'm talking like hundreds of dollars an hour. You can charge hundreds of dollars an hour. Can you charge that much for a massage? Not necessarily. Can you charge hundreds of dollars an hour for any white collar thing, anything that you needed to get a degree for? Can you charge hundreds of dollars an hour? No. Unless you were extremely skilled, it was extremely niche, and it was like, it wouldn't be easy for you to find customers as easily as a cleaning job. Like, just go spend time in the United States and experience it for yourself. So I told this person, like, okay, so you're moving to the United States, you want to make a lot of effing money, you don't have like the clout and the network that an American that is like super rich has, which still, to those people, I would still recommend a cleaning business or any blue collar business. I would, construction, whatever, because in America, the working class is trained not to do blue collar stuff. I mean, like, you're trained to go to college, you're trained to study something really stupid that is not really actually going to make you money in the economy. And you're trained to look at like blue collar stuff as like peef, you know, like, ew. And so the blue collar people are usually immigrants, and they make a lot of money. They're just raking in bags. So this person was like, well, like that's like a low level thing. I don't want to do cleaning. And I said, like, you have to change your mindset. And like, sometimes the thing that will force you to change your mindset is really hitting rock bottom. When you hit rock bottom, you don't have food to pay for anything. You're stuck. Like, you're like, you don't have food. You don't have money to pay for your rent. You don't have money to pay for your food. You kind of stop caring at that point. Like, when you really hit rock bottom. And then when you lose all your social connections. Social connections are really, really like one of my least favorite things. Having social network connection. That's why part of the reason why I left the Jewish community, I left the Persian community. I just don't want to be part of a community that's going to limit me in any way. I don't want to be part of a social network that's going to give me false rules for like what's considered high status, not status enough. That is going to limit me in any way from achieving my highest potential. And until you lose all your friends, lose connections with your family members, if you can, just lose all of it. Until you lose all of it, you don't really hit the rock bottom that you need to say, fuck it, I'm going to start that cleaning business because it's going to make me a lot of money. And you know what? I have a friend that is making a lot of money from a cleaning business. I won't tell you the exact details, but you don't need a degree. You don't need to be a citizen. You don't need to you know, like, I'm not saying it's the easiest thing in the world, but nothing in America is easy. Nothing in America is easy. Like, you need a certification for most things. You need a proper license for most things. You know, like it's just a very regulated economy, just like any first world very regulated economy. Things can be very complicated. You know, you can go to school for many years, sometimes decades, to become a doctor. And still, after paying so much money, millions and millions of dollars in medical school fees, tuitions, whatever, lost time from working, getting in so much debt, still after all those years, you still have to apply for a new board exam, pay for new board exam, tests, licensing in every new state that you go to. You still won't be able to practice everywhere in every specialty. You still will have to go through so many regulations, potential for lawsuits, dealing with all kinds of like liability stuff as a doctor, just to be able to do your job. And you still won't be able to charge a crazy amount. Like, you're still very limited by whatever the rules are. You know, blue collar construction jobs or whatever, like physical labor jobs, you don't have to be as limited. You get to work by demand. You get to work by what that area needs. How many people need a cleaning person in your area? And trust me, a lot of people need that. They need a cleaning person, they need a construction person, they need a pool guy, they need a painter, they need a tile flooring person, they need an electrician. So that's just another stupid example, but you won't discover that the things that you really, really needed and will get you to the things that you really, really want are the things that you might not have pursued unless you hit rock bottom, unless it was forced from you. You might not have left that partner that was terrible for you unless they left you. You might not have left that job that was really bad for you unless they fired you. You might not have started your business unless you got fired from every single job and realized that you're basically unemployable. Like me, I would never start a business unless I got fired from every single job and realized that I was basically unemployable and totally lost hope in jobs. Like, why? Why would you start a business? Why would you start a business if it's easy for you to just be comfortable and stay in the thing that just gets you paid? Especially if you're already so exhausted all the time and you're already so sensitive all the time. You're already so in survival mode all the time. Why? Why would you make life harder for yourself? But sometimes when life forces the hardness out of you, you get blessings that you never would have gotten otherwise. You never would have gone to live in that third world country that gives you so much in return if you didn't have to. If you didn't get to a point where you were like, oh my God, like I'm in so much debt and I don't know how to survive, I'm drowning. I need a break from all these costs building up, all these utility costs, all these, I need to go to a place where I can pay a doctor $20 for like, or $12 for like a great dental cleaning. I need it, out of pocket, no insurance. I need a place like that. Where do I go? Where do I go if I want to get paid $10 via Deleva? That's where, Colombia. But I know a lot of countries like this. Our favorite dentist is in Colombia at the moment. Where do I go? Where do I go if I want to be able to like have a relationship with my doctor that's not expensive and that I don't have health insurance? I just want to be able to have an easy relationship with my doctor, and every time I see my doctor, it doesn't cost more than $10. Not $10 copay for an insurance that I already pay. Which, by the way, when I had health insurance back in the United States, I was paying between $400 and $500 a month for health insurance, and I would only go to the doctors that were in network, which was very limited doctors were in network, and they sucked, and I still had to pay a copay. So, and I just have horror stories from the doctors in the United States. Because they're just, and I feel bad to say that they suck, because these people are so busy. They're squeezed themselves. These people, the doctor is in their fight or flight. The doctor is drowning. You think they're going to help you drowning? The doctor is just going to look at you and say, you're lucky you're alive, get out of here. Like, they don't have time. They don't have, I wouldn't want to be those doctors. When your doctor is struggling and more in their survival mode than you are, then you're in trouble. They're not going to help you get out of survival mode. They're probably just going to drown you, actually, even more, because they're drowning. Your doctors are drowning. They can't help you. So, and it doesn't matter how much money you pay them. It doesn't matter how amazing their skill set is. It doesn't matter how many years they've been doing this for. So, if you're approaching a time in your life when you're about to hit like a massive survival mode, even if it's something very silly, like I'm getting to a point where I just feel tired all the time, and I feel like I'm hitting my breaking point where, like, I don't know what to do with myself. My mental health is getting to me. My mental issues are getting to me. I'm just, my emotions are up and down. Like, for me, I was feeling this way with pregnancy. Like, I got to a point where I just feel all over the place. I feel extremely volatile, whatever, with pregnancy. I feel like I did everything I need to do. Why am I still like this? I have the time, why am I so volatile? Why am I so crazy up and down? And because I was hitting a breaking point with my emotions, my mental health, it forced me to, like, start meditating more and trying to figure it out, and having these conversations with myself, having these conversations with my partner, where we're like, okay, you know what? Maybe it's time for some adjustments, Maybe we have to do this thing. Maybe we have to organize our lives in this way. Maybe we have to organize our finances in this way. Like, so far we've been doing it one way, and it worked for a while until we were doing it. But now I'm pregnant and volatile, and the tiniest thing makes me crazy. So now let's adjust it in another way. And, like, you would never have made these adjustments that could end up being, like, could end up boosting you in so many ways in your life, could end up actually helping you in so many other ways in your life. You would never have made those adjustments if not for hitting rock bottom in the first place, with your mental health, with your finances, with your physical health. Like, me realizing that I am too physically tired to do strenuous workouts anymore, because actually I was talking to someone else at our club, that very similar situation. She was always doing strength fitness workouts, which, as a woman, there's nothing wrong with it. Like, I love strength fitness workouts, core weight training, like, that's great. You want to be toned as a woman. But so she was doing that a lot before she got pregnant, and then while she was pregnant she kept trying to do it, but then she realized that, like, she was just too exhausted, and she didn't want to wait until after pregnancy to keep working out. She wanted to keep working out through pregnancy because she wanted to keep getting pregnant. She doesn't want to, and I feel this too, like, I don't want to put my life on hold for pregnancy, because what if I'm pregnant for the next 10 years? What if I'm still keep being pregnant? You know what I mean? Which is a huge blessing if that were to happen. But, like, at the at the same time, like, does that mean that I just stop living for the next 10 years and I stop being strong and I just lay down and shrivel up and let my muscles atrophy? So there has to be an adjustment. So for her, the adjustment was she realized that she can keep her energy levels up and keep her muscles toned and keep her fitness really active if she goes swimming every day. So she replaced strength training and weights with swimming, daily swimming. So that's what she did. And it really worked for her. And even after she had her kids, she's been swimming every day. That's what she does. That's her workout. She like, that became the thing that actually boosted her lifestyle, that actually her body needed from the beginning. But she was never squeezed enough to be forced to try that out, you know? A lot of people that are really wealthy entrepreneurs that you talk to, they became entrepreneurs. And I know someone like this that got brain cancer. He became an entrepreneur after he got brain cancer. Why? How does it happen that people become extremely wealthy after they become paralyzed, they get brain cancer, something really intense happens to them, after they become a single mom, after they become limited in some way? Why do people become extremely wealthy after they become limited? Because before they were limited, they were never pushed to do the things that they needed to do to keep up with that limitation. So before the guy got brain cancer, he was working actively at a job. Working actively at a job works when your body is fully functioning and you can you're active, you're able to keep powering every day 9 to 5 in like an unnatural superhuman way. As soon as a sickness, an illness hits you, as soon as you become pregnant and have a bunch of kids and then are a single mom, or you're like, something happens to you, you're kind of forced to start taking these things into account. And ideally, you started taking these things into account before you hit rock bottom. But sometimes the reason why we hit rock bottom is because we weren't taking these things into account. We weren't taking into account the fact that working full-time to make ends meet, 9 to 5, is not a sustainable way for you to become wealthy. Maybe it's a way for you to survive right now, but it's not a sustainable way for you to become wealthy. It's not a way for you to start a family. If you're working a full-time 9 to 5 job, that's not how you're going to start a sustainable wealth machine that's going to sustain an entire family. That's just how you're going to survive right now, just you. It's kind of the hard truth. And it only works if you're physically healthy and alert enough right now to keep doing that, to keep pushing. And that if you budget your family in like a very specific way, you know what I mean? It only takes one massive fight with your partner, or one major natural disaster or major like health issue in the family to like kind of blow all of that out of the water. And people are able to do it because, I don't know, maybe they live in a country where there's like welfare. They have things that kind of are able to enable the unsustainable behaviors, the unsustainable lifestyle. People live in first world countries that are able to somehow sustain an unsustainable way of living. I'm going to keep doing drugs forever. I'm going to keep even prescription drugs forever. That prescription drugs that are so expensive that literally I can't find in any other country, and are going to eat away at my brain long term. But like, I'm going to do it because it works within this like tiny little system. I'm able to sustain it. And then this system is able to enable this very unsustainable way of living. Unsustainable long term and outside of the system. So I got off track, but people become extremely successful and wealthy in their entrepreneurial endeavors because they had no other choice oftentimes. Like, my friend that got brain cancer, once he got brain cancer, he was forced to leave his job. And he realized that he'll never be able to, because of the effects, he was undergoing brain surgery and he had multiple tumors, so he had to keep going back for surgery. For whatever reason, they couldn't just do it all at one time. He basically wasn't able to work anymore. He was screwed. And he was also mentally screwed. Like, he had to be on, THC edibles because the pain was so strong, and they needed a way to like sort of he needed some kind of like way to mitigate the pain and like heal through it. So that's when he started his first business. That's when he stopped trying to work 24/7, 9 to 5. And then, because as a business owner, you make your own schedule, you have control. It takes longer until you make money, and it's also scary. But once you hit rock bottom, you get brain cancer, the whole life is scary anyways, so nothing feels like a loss to you at that point. It's kind of like, it's either do the business or just die, like I was gonna die anyway, right? So, or like the single mom. Like, the single mom gets to a point where she can't go in for a job. She can't do the unsustainable thing. She can't afford to be on drugs and medications the whole time, which is unsustainable. She can't afford to do the unsustainable thing. She has a very, very limited amount of time during the day. She's kind of forced to really, really think about the smartest and most clever way of making money and surviving. And that's where you get really, really successful entrepreneurs that are self-made, that the success was squeezed out of them. And like, there's also the risk factor. There isn't the fear that what if I lose my job? What if there's nothing to lose? So that's when you hit rock bottom. You're at a point where you're like, there's nothing left to lose. What am I playing this game for? I might as well just shoot for the stars, because there's nothing to lose by me taking giant risks. Taking big risks is really, really scary when you have something to lose. And when you have kids, sometimes you're scared that you won't be able to feed your kids. So a lot of people actually, when they have kids, they don't take the big risks. But for other people, when they have kids, they take the big risks because, and this is another thing, like a lot of guys, who their whole family is dependent on them, are more likely to take bigger risks because like they're just so squeezed that they have to. But if they're, so I don't know, it's just different for everybody. I don't even want to say. It's just different for everybody. But your rock bottom, sometimes the rock bottom is that you've been doing a lot of things that you didn't really need to do, but you just do them just because, like, you've been talking to the same people every day just because you had the time to do it. And then your rock bottom is like when you stop having the time, the energy, the patience to talk to those people every day. You know what I mean? And then it's like life perfecting what you needed for yourself. Life perfecting your lifestyle and your routine for you. Or you used to have a really stringent hairstyle every day, where you like blow dry your hair every day. I used to blow dry. There was a period of time where I would blow dry my hair every day, or I would iron my hair every day. And the thing when you blow dry or iron your hair every day is that you can't go swimming, you can't wash it, because every time it gets water on it, it goes bad, and you have to like shower or wash, dry it, and style it again every single time. So for me, like, I got to this point where I stopped having the time energy, or I was in a place where like my hair would just keep getting wet. So that was my rock bottom with my hair, where I realized like, okay, well, I guess I have to find a better solution for my hairstyles. Something that if I want one day, I could style it up and spend more time on it. I could braid it, whatever, or I don't have to. For me, like I got to a point where I started just permanently straightening my hair when I could. And now it's kind of like, it's not permanently straightened, which is why you see this, but just developing a different style. So there's just so many ways of hitting rock bottom. Depends on what your life is. For some people, it's losing everybody and everything they know. And like really like losing their health, like losing their senses, losing body parts, like all kinds of crazy shit. Like people are losing all kinds of stuff now, of varying levels. And it's never, you can never compare people's losses. You can't say just because somebody has lost a loved one, their pain is going to be more severe than the pain of someone who's lost like a job, or like who's lost their sense of self or whatever. Like you can never compare people's losses, because at the end of the day it translates in the body differently. You can have someone who's very sensitive or very traumatized, and they like every little thing triggers them and gives them a crazy reaction. And then you can have someone who's already experienced a lot of loss and hardship in their life, and they're able to like tolerate losses and pain a little bit more. You know, it's always going to look different in people's bodies. It's going to feel different, and it's always important, no matter what it is, to feel through your stuff and to validate the things that you're experiencing. Like, it doesn't matter what anyone else is going through and what is considered rock bottom for someone else. Like, if it feels like you're hitting a breaking point for you, then you're hitting a breaking point, and it's really important. And like, I want to send you guys so much love in this journey. Like, this is what I would want for myself, and I'm sending it for you guys. I hope that whatever breaking point you're hitting right now, whatever realization you're coming to, whatever adjustments need to be made, it comes to you with clarity, and it comes to you with so much smoothness, like as little conflict and craziness as possible, just as smoothly as possible. The answers just smoothly come to you, and it just feels very easy. Like I just want it to feel so easy for you guys, for the answers to come to you, whatever your adjustment is, your special solution. And if you haven't heard of this by now, I wrote a book called House Hackers Anonymous, and it's my 12-step survival program for my younger self. It gives you kind of my personal strategy, A to Z, from going from being homeless, dumpster diving, all the way to being financially free, investing, traveling the world, whatever you want, to have the time to have these reflections, to be able to be financially independent enough that you could even go through these life changes that a lot of people are going through. So if you haven't, I'd highly recommend you read the book. You can read it in print. You can take it as a course on my website, which you'll see in the description. And you can also listen as an audiobook for people that don't like to read. So I would definitely recommend it. If you read it, please write a review. It would help me a lot. And it's my personal strategy. It's everything I know. It's everything I've used for myself to get here. And I'm still learning. This is why I make these videos. Like, I'm still learning so much. Every day is a learning experience for me. I'm still getting to know the world and life, and like, I just feel lucky that I can just come here and share it with you guys. So yeah, thanks, and see you guys in the next video.